And we also had turtlenecks. That's right, we wore turtlenecks. Now, we had different colors. I think Rafa had a red one, Crosby had like a yellow or a white one, and
Gonzo, Coast Guard years, New York, episode 4, The Flush Protocol.
At some point after getting fitted with my new black pants, it's all hemmed up and stuff, Crosby, Rafa, and I basically had our Broadway outfits. At the time, I wasn't sure it was my look, but Crosby and Rafa insisted it looked good. I kind of feel like maybe they're saying that because, well, essentially, we wore identical outfits. We all had black pants. We had black blazers on. I think maybe Rafa actually had a black dress jacket, but it's basically the same thing. And we also had turtlenecks. That's right, we wore turtlenecks. Now, we had different colors. I think Rafa had a red one, Crosby had like a yellow or a white one, and good Lord, I wore a lime green turtleneck. Maybe it was neon green, but whatever. It was all the same. And shit, I got these black boots too. These boots, so they didn't quite come up to mid-calf, and they were kind of pointy and had like a little metal tab on the tip of the toe, and the part that like went up inside like the pants leg, they were kind of crinkly, kind of have these weird folds on them. They basically look like something you'd expect an elf to wear if you've ever watched Lord of the Rings or whatever. They look like elf boots. And as a matter of fact, I was told previously by many people that they look like elf boots, except Crosby and Rafa never said they looked like elf boots because they had very similar boots too. Now, at night, usually at night in the evening, not always though, we would get all dressed up and Rafa and I would walk over to the barracks where Crosby was staying, and then we'd hop on the ferry. We'd cruise over to South Manhattan, hop on the red line, number 1, and we'd go to the USO in Times Square. Now, if I remember correctly, the USO in Times Square is now closed and it's no longer there. It's kind of a shame because, you know, I got some history with it, some nostalgia and whatnot. But when we would get off the train station near Times Square, near the USO, it's really weird because all of a sudden when you're all dressed up and stuff and you think you look all that in a bag of chips, I mean, we kind of changed from like this casual walk we had going on, except for Crosby. He always kind of walked like he owned the space. But Rafa and I were a little more laid back, I think, generally speaking. But when we got off the train in Times Square, all of a sudden we changed from this casual walk to this New York City style strut. I'm not entirely sure how I can frame that anymore than I already have, but you get it. We act like we own the space and like we were total badasses. At least we thought we were total badasses, but whatever. As I mentioned, so the three of us would go to shows together. And one of the shows I remember watching was called Into the Woods. I think it was my first Broadway show, actually, with Crosby and Rafa. So basically, the show Into the Woods, it's a musical. Never thought I'd like a musical. And it was kind of a mashup of a bunch of different fairy tales, all kind of wrapped together. And they weaved them really cool. And it was really interesting. And I liked it. It's one of two that I remember seeing vividly, although I can't remember the specifics of either show. So it was cool. They ended up making a movie called Into the Woods, which I don't think was nearly as successful as the musical. But don't take my word for it, though, because when it comes to entertainment, I have limited ability to be a critic. Although, we also, speaking of musicals, we also went and saw these light operas. I didn't know a light opera was a thing anywhere. I had no, it was, thought it was just operas. But clearly I was wrong. Again, I'm not a very cultured individual. I'm not now, definitely wasn't back then. But a light opera, basically they would speak the dialogue sometimes, and then they would sing the dialogue sometimes, and I could barely understand them when they were speaking, much less when they were singing. Weirdly enough, as the show progresses, you get more acquainted with what's going on, and I swear by the end of the show, I actually was able to make out what they were saying when they were singing or speaking. It's really weird how that happens, but it was cool. But before that, though, they could have been speaking in reverse, and I wouldn't have known the difference. There was this one show that Rafa and I had gone to, a matinee show. It's on a Saturday or Sunday, and Rafa and I went without Crosby because I was pretty sure he had duty that weekend. It was what I would call a one-of-a-kind show. And by that, I mean it was a comedy, which we hadn't seen before. Maybe we probably did see some well, Into the Woods was a comedy, and the light operas could have been comedies, but I had no idea. But this particular comedy, there was singing, there was speaking, there was dancing and whatnot. But none of that was what made it a one-of-a-kind show. What made it a one-of-a-kind show was the cast members, 2 men, 2 women, if I recall correctly. They were butt-ass naked like the entire show. They were prancing around with all their bits and pieces flopping around. And none of that actually was a big deal to me. I mean, it was cool. It was all right. But what made it, I'll say, mildly uncomfortable was in the audience, in addition to Rafa and I, at this matinee, were a bunch of senior citizens. It was like, can you imagine sitting in a movie, on your couch at home with your grandparents in the room and some, racy sex scene came on, or there was full frontal nudity or whatever? You're wondering, oh God, I'm watching this with my grandparents. I mean, it could have been your parents and it would still feel weird, but your grandparent, that's how I was feeling. Yeah, they made it up because I have no idea what they're thinking. I mean, who knows what these senior citizens are into? And I should be careful because I'm going to be one not too long from now, I think. So just, ooh. And speaking of ooh, I'm pretty sure I mentioned before that the barracks that we were staying in were ancient. Like, super old. Like, the rooms were old, the staircase, and the bathrooms were old. However, the bathroom was huge. I mean, it had to be. It needed to accommodate a whole bunch of people all at once. Now, I believe the barracks, I'm pretty sure about this, they were, rebuilt at some point to accommodate the army, like way back in the Wayback Machine. And of course, like most ground pounders, who rarely take a shower. I'm just kidding, guys. I have no idea. But let's just face it. Army dudes like to play in the dirt. That's like their thing. So I think these bathrooms were specifically designed to accommodate their lack of hygiene. Yeah, I swear you guys are going to beat me up. I know it. So, as I said, these bathrooms were ginormous. So when you walk into the bathrooms, there are like these 2 double doors that you to go into this big bathroom. And so just off to the left of when you walked in, kind of in the center of the giant bathroom, was a row of sinks, 2 rows of sinks actually, and they were, back to back, and they had mirrors in the middle. I don't know why they put them. I mean, I know they put them back to back for efficiency's sakes and cram in more sinks. But honestly, when you're sitting there brushing your teeth and you kind of look up, you can see some other knucklehead over there brushing his teeth as well. And I don't want to see that shit. It was just the weirdest thing. I don't ever recall those double doors being closed all that often now that I think about it. I mean, they were probably closed all the time, or maybe, I don't remember. It's not like we needed to worry about seeing women or women, walking by, because there were no women on the floor. And in the Coast Guard, you didn't really call a woman a woman. You referred pretty much to anyone that wasn't male as a female. That was it. So there were no females on the floor. I don't know. I don't know why we did that. That's just how it was done, and those were the rules. And I didn't make up the rules, so don't be hating on me. As I said, so as you walked into the bathroom, there were 2 rows of sinks. There might have been like a total of 8 sinks, maybe 10. I don't, not rows, but a total of 8 to 10 sinks, I think, that are all back to back. And to the far right of the bathroom, the urinals. And I know who cares about the urinals, but again, I'm going to make fun of the Army guy, so bear with me here. The urinals, again, they were against like the far wall on the right-hand side, and you had to step up on this little platform to get to. I don't know why you had to step up. That just seemed like a complete waste of time, but you stepped up onto this platform, and if you've never seen one of these before, it's a weird thing to see, but the urinal, it went from like the eye level and all the way to the floor. It was like one giant piece of porcelain all the way down. It was kind of curved, to I don't know why they I guess they were curved to help with backsplash, I suppose. I don't know. But seriously, who needs that much of a target to go pee in? Again, I'm pretty sure because this was an old Army thing, they probably needed a little assistance with their aim because clearly their aim sucked, which is why they weren't in the Coast Guard to begin with. But anyway, I never understood it. It's not like, I don't know, maybe they used to play games with these giant urinals. I have no idea. But anyway, it was just the weirdest thing. Back to the bathroom tour. To the left of the door when you walked in was a row of toilet stalls. There were like 6 or 8 toilet stalls. I don't remember. What I do kind of remember is that there was always somebody going poop. At the end of this row of toilets, there was another room. So you get to the very end of the line of toilets, and then just to the right, there was another room within a room, and that was where the showers were. Now, these showers, look, if you can imagine what a prison shower would look like, this is probably as close as you can get to it. So this basically, these showers were a hot fucking mess. So along the long side of each wall, there was like maybe 4 or 6 shower heads. So that basically meant there were like 8 or 12 shower heads total in this room. And, you'd basically have one person on one side and the other. It was a thing anyway. But I kind of felt like it was worse. Actually, no, it was kind of better than boot camp, I guess, because there was a pretty good distance between you and any other person that was taking a shower in there. So there was quite a bit of distance. In Coast Guard boot camp, where they had the shower set up, you basically were, your ass was a couple of inches from the other guy, which when you're a 19-year-old kid in boot camp, that was just really uncomfortable. But I digress. The showers, okay, so the reason there was such a hot mess was because of their relationship to the toilets. So as I mentioned, these toilets and the showers have some kind of, they're interconnected sort of, and I know that sounds really, really gross. But when you're in the shower and your whole thing besides getting clean is to just, the hot water is relaxing and it helps you just like sort of, wash off the day and just, sort of alleviate some stress and anxiety. We were, though, to find out that this hot water, these showers, they were actually a very huge source of anxiety because, so as I mentioned before, that somebody was always taking a poop. I mean, there were 40 of us on the floor, so the odds that someone was going to be in there throughout the day was pretty good. I can't tell you just how much that place smelled, particularly after breakfast. Guys would go and eat breakfast, come back, and go poo-poo. Same thing with lunch. Go to lunch, come back, drop trowel, do their business. Dinner, not so much. It was kind of hit or miss because sometimes guys would go to the chow hall for dinner. Sometimes they wouldn't. We would order out pizza and stuff like that. So it was probably not as a big mess, but anyway, you get the gist. With all this pooping going on, this was what caused the showers to be a hot mess. If you happen to be taking a shower and trying to enjoy some peace and relaxation, and some jackwagon decided to flush the toilet, you could kiss all that relaxation good fucking bye. Why? Because the cold water that supplied the water to the toilets was also the same cold water that fed the showers too. So, you can imagine what happened next. When the toilet was flushed, it sucked all of the cold water from the showers. And whichever poor bastard was taking a shower, trying to wash off the stress of the day and whatnot, well, his ass basically got scalded. And yes, I was one of those poor fuckers too. And I'm here to tell you, when you're trying to enjoy a shower and all of a sudden, BAM! It's nothing but scalding hot water. Yeah, you're pretty much not wanting to take a shower very often. I mean, it's one thing being doused by cold water. You know, some people might think it's refreshing a little bit. People do the polar plunge and ice baths and stuff like that. And okay, people do that on purpose. But nobody dumps their ass into a bucket of hot water, or once it gets scalding hot water like dumped on them. No, nobody does. And it's not like it was like a gradual change in water temperature. It was immediate. It's like, when you've got a big pot of boiling water and you take a lobster and dump it in there? That's what it felt like. You were the lobster. But in this case, you're just having water, coming down from the shower, not actually being thrown into the shower, or not being thrown into a bucket of water, hot water. So kind of like a lobster, but not really. Anyway, each time you took a shower, you had to be aware and on your toes to get in and out as fast as possible. Because if you were in there and someone decided to go poop and flush the toilet, you're pretty much hosed, like a lobster, sort of, in a weird way. So at some point, all of us decided that something needed to be done, because most of us on the floor had gotten burned, and it's horribly uncomfortable, as you can imagine. So we had a floor meeting, and by a floor meeting, basically we all went into the bathroom to talk about it. And again, there was probably close to 40 of us, the class ahead of us and the class I was in. We all kind of went into the bathroom and basically talked about how the hell we're going to fix this. So, of course, there was, I'm sure, a bunch of ludicrous ideas that were floating around. But we finally settled on what actually can be done when you were done doing the do in the toilet. Before you flush the toilet, you had to yell, "Flush." Give the other person a couple of seconds, and then you would flush the toilet. That was it. But we really didn't know exactly how loud that flush yell needed to be. So we did what anything or any ET would do in that case, because we're all a bunch of nerds. We went through and set up this basic system, not system, but what do you want to call it? We tested it out, essentially. We turned on all the showers in the shower, and somebody stood in the shower, like not actually taking a shower, but kind of was in there listening. And somebody went and flushed the toilet and would yell, "Flush." So we did this a couple times to figure out how loud you actually had to be. You basically needed to yell loud enough to wake up the dead, which honestly was funny as hell. Because if you were just chilling in your room, you could hear someone yelling "flush" down the hall. That never got old. Sometimes, though, while you're taking a shower, you would hear someone yell "flush." And of course, you'd move, and then you go back to the shower, and then you'd hear "flush" again, and then it would go on. So you might be in there, and somebody's might be flushing the toilet several times. Now, the part about this that really kind of sucked, though it was great getting the courtesy of knowing someone's about to flush so you can move out of the way. But if you were in the middle of washing your hair and you had soap in your eyes, so when you're at home and you're taking a shower in a regular old shower, you kind of use the shower water as sort of like a gauge of where you are in the shower. So if you're washing your hair or whatever, you know the water's there because it's on your shoulders, your elbow, your back or whatever. So you kind of know where you're at in relation to your shower, into that space. But when someone yells flush there and your ass is moving as fast as Neo from the Matrix to avoid getting burned, like doing the whole bullet time thing, you're twisting and anyway, okay. If you haven't seen The Matrix, please go do it. It was one of the most groundbreaking movies of all time. Then, so you heard flush, you moved your ass away as fast as you can from the shower, but now you got soap in your eyes, or you're shampooing your hair and you can't open your eyes or you're going to get soap in your eyes. You can't feel the water, so your sense of direction is kind of jacked because, it's kind of a thing. And you're reaching out like all Helen Keller style and stuff, trying to find the water. It was kind of like doing egress drills on the Thetis way back when. So I guess it was just more training. Yeah, that's what I needed, more training. One of the side effects, or I should say downside to this whole new flush protocol was we missed out on hearing this guy named Jerry, also known as the Throwin' Samoan. Now, he wasn't Samoan, but he had a Samoan-sounding last name. So before the flush protocol was put into place, Jerry, when he was in the shower and someone flushed the toilet, he of course would get burned. He would let out this scream. He sounded like a cartoon character, and or somebody from like the Little Rascals, if you've ever seen the Little Rascals, or maybe somebody from Peanuts, if you can imagine one of the characters from Charlie Brown, yelling, "Ah!" But he did it in such a comical way. It was hysterical. It was always funny when Jerry did it. You couldn't help but laugh. And I'm pretty sure there were other people out there that also sort of missed listening to Jerry yell. Because I'm pretty sure, not pretty sure. There are multiple times that even after the flush protocol was put into place, you could still hear Jerry screaming out loud. Because some twisted individual decided not to yell flush, and just to hear Jerry scream. And I think someone was stalking Jerry when he would go to the shower just to listen to him scream. You know what? I know that shit is really messed up, but we were a bunch of dudes with some really sick, twisted, deranged humor.
You've been listening to Gonzo the Coast Guard Ears, written and produced by Tim Gonzalez, and I'm Nicholas Gonzalez, the voice guy. Join us next week for another episode of Gonzo the Coast Guard Ears.